Hi, welcome to the Narrowboat experience. I'm Anna-Marie.
And I'm Kath. Today we wanted to share with you the experiences of owning the Nature's Head composting toilet.
We have had the Nature's Head composting toilet on our Narrowboat for 3 years.
We wanted to talk about the best and worst features of having the composting toilet. One of the questions that we get asked the most is, do you regret switching from a cassette to a composting toilet?
And I'm going to answer this first because I was in charge of the cassette. I absolutely have no regrets switching from a cassette toilet. I also want to add in a disclaimer. We don't actually have a composting toilet. We have a dry toilet that you can then use to compost. We don't compost, we choose not to. Some people do compost in their engine bays or in their bow or on their roof. We don't. We bag up and we dispose of our waste. So we're not composting, but for the purpose of this video, we'll call it a composting toilet, though in actual fact it's a dry toilet. So do I regret having the composting toilet? Absolutely not. My main reason is just the weight of the Elsan of the cassette. When I would put it on the trolley to take it to an Elsan point, I sometimes needed help to lift it out of the boat. I know it sounds disgusting because that's your waste. I would need help lifting it out of the boat, then it would have to go on a trolley, then I would wheel it down the towpath or down the pontoon. I don't miss that.
The capacity of the cassette was also smaller, I think, than the composting toilet, because we used to have to change 2 cassettes in 1 week, and that was when we were not on board all day. So I imagine now we'd need to have loads and loads of cassettes stacked up everywhere, sloshing around, waiting. One of the other things that I prefer about the composting toilet is the smell, and that's because...
You prefer the smell? It sounds funny, but yeah.
I haven't had a pump out. We've never owned a toilet with a pump out toilet, although we have been on hire boats with pump outs, and we didn't notice a smell then until maybe when you get to the end of your tank being full. But the Elsan, or the cassette toilet, we found had a little bit of a chemically smell after maybe 1 or 2 days of use, because you put a bit of chemicals in there to break down the waste to make it easier to empty. And I hated that smell. Hated it.
Even when we bought Lazy Days and she had a cassette toilet, straight away, as soon as you use the toilet, you could just smell that it was a cassette toilet again.
Yeah.
And we don't enjoy that. And we tried also to be a little bit environmentally friendly. We tried to go down some natural alternatives to using blue in the cassette toilet, and it just really didn't work for us. Whereas in the toilet that we have at the moment, the composting toilet, we can use environmentally friendly things like vinegar and baking soda.
Bicarbonate of soda
to clean everything, and we can just use more gentle products to keep everything nice.
Yeah. So what would you say are the easiest things about having a composting toilet?
The easiest things, I think the first thing that springs to mind is the maintenance. When you have a composting toilet, it's so close to just having a normal toilet. I genuinely don't think about it from time to time. It's the same size as a normal toilet, which I know is really important for some people, so that it doesn't look different and it doesn't feel different. And there's just, as far as storing product, we can store enough core to last us a year in a very small space, and then we just don't have to think about it anymore. We don't have to think, where are we going to be, where is the next Elsan, and is that Elsan going to be broken or blocked, or are we iced in? The maintenance is so easy.
With the cassette toilet, if you need to have spare cassettes because otherwise you're limited by how much you can store, the cassettes actually take up a fair bit of space. They're, a standard cassette is this big, and then you might have 2 or 3, so then you've got this much. And if you have a pump out toilet, then you can wave goodbye to storage under your bed.
Or under your dinette.
So the composting toilet doesn't have that. We have 1 toilet, we have 1 spare liquids container, and we have our selection of core, and that's it. We don't have to carry any chemicals, so we're not spending money every now and then buying blue, and we're not storing cassettes. So we do take a lot less space.
Yeah, I agree.
Which means more space for other things.
The question that most people want to know, what is the worst thing about owning a composting toilet?
Hands down, without a doubt, the liquids container.
Yeah.
Liquids always.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody will know that. Everybody who has a composting toilet. I think everybody.
I think we stay quite hydrated. We try to stay, but I don't think we're crazy hydrated.
I don't think so either, but we have a composting toilet. Minimalist, they're boat tubers, they also have a composting toilet. They do not empty their ones container as much as we do.
No.
We have compared notes. We
must drink far too much.
they reckon we drink too much tea. We haven't changed our lifestyle a lot. We still use the toilet as much as we would any other time. The ones container, hands down, it fills up quickly. It is difficult to empty the ones container.
We find it difficult to empty. It does have an odour, and sometimes if you empty it in the same spot for a week, then that does smell like maybe walking under an underpass where people have emptied their bladders regularly.
We try to go...
We try to move it around. We prefer it on a rainy day. We'll use our sandpoints if they are available, just because it's easier. And we have tried things to reduce the smell.
Yes.
Such as putting sugar in the pot.
That's our top tip. The difficulty with the ones is, I find, as an introvert, emptying them, because we don't want to go out in the middle of the day when all the walkers are going past having their lovely time and go down a track and find a tree and then get rid of get rid of your ones. And then also, it is best practice to take a water container with you and dilute it so that you're not just putting undiluted. So we prefer to do it under the cover of darkness, and that's tricky in summer because I like to be in bed at 8.
There is one other thing that can be a little bit difficult.
Yes.
It's generally okay, but we will run the solids container for 2 to 3 weeks. 4 if we can really, really push it. And that's quite a lot of solid waste. So it's quite heavy to pick up, which is generally fine. But so you take the lid off the toilet and wrap a plastic bag around, and you think you've got it fully sealed all the way around, and then you flip the toilet upside down, and then you wonder, what's that warm feeling on my feet?
And it's sometimes the core, the composted material.
It's just like mud, because every time we empty it, if it looks a little bit wet in there or whatever, then we will put a little bit more compost in and mix it up a little bit before we empty the container, because otherwise it doesn't come out as well. So you need it to be very dry in there. And it is warm because it is in the process of composting.
I don't think that it's, oh no, I've got some waste on my foot.
No, I don't care about it.
It's not that at all, because it's really already started to break down, and there's not really anything disgusting about it. I think it's more of a flaw with Kath's style of emptying the toilet, because we take turns and it never happens to me.
Oh.
I just don't know how come it happens to you.
I did it the other day and it was all over the floor.
Yeah. So you do have to, this is the thing though, when you empty the composting toilet, you do have to have everything set out. You've got to have your bags and your gloves and everything that you need kind of systematically set out. And perhaps maybe the first time you empty the composting toilet is not going to be the best activity you've ever done in your life, but you will get better, and it just becomes a really quick job. We've got it so quick now that if we know that we're getting to the bin, somebody can just duck inside, empty the composting toilet, and we can take it to the bin. That's
pretty much it from us on composting.
Yeah.
If we were going to pick between having a pump out, a cassette, or a composting toilet again, then we would definitely pick the compost.
Yeah.
Of course, if you throw in an incinerator into the mix, then we wouldn't say no to one of those, because as I understand it, aside from the high running costs, you don't need to deal with anything, because poof, gone.
Up in flames. I wanted to add one extra thing, and it is a regret that I thought of, and I wanted to tell it to you guys, because the one regret that I do have about a composting toilet is that the money that I spent purchasing it, I would much have rather to have made my own. There's so much online about how to make a dry toilet, and I just think making my own really wouldn't have been much different than this composting toilet. If you want something set up and ready to go, then yeah, we thoroughly recommend it. But if you think, oh, it's going to be too hard to make my own, it really doesn't look that hard at all. So my one regret, again, is spending money.
Yeah.
I would say save your money, make your own, make it fit to your bathroom. That would be my top tip for this episode.
If you have got any thoughts around toilets yourself, because I know that boaters do like to talk about toilets, then do leave them in the comments below.
Yes, do you have a pump out, a cassette, an incinerator, or a composting toilet? What's your top tip for one of those?
Yeah.
And which do you prefer if you've had multiples?
If you have enjoyed or found this episode helpful, please do give us a thumbs up. Why not share it with a friend who's thinking about getting a composting toilet?
Yes. And as always, click the subscribe button. It really does help us out. And also it helps you out because we have lots more videos to share with you and lots more information about narrowboats.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.